Going to be here, so so makes me feel really good about myself, when that happens. But again, Father Reed, Associate Vocation Director, doing tremendous work. And so today, just want to talk kind of briefly. I know we have to get over to the Holy Mass and things like that with the Cardinal and Bishop. Just our trends and what we're seeing in vocations over these last few years. This is my 8th year actually as Vocation Director for the Diocese of Des Moines, and so I've seen a lot over the 8 years, and I've been ordained 11, so most of my priesthood I've been the Vocation Director. I'm also the pastor now of St. Mary Holy Cross Church in Elkhart, and basically rural Maxwell is our second little parish, and it's kind of northeast of Ankeny. If you're familiar with the area, I really enjoy being there. It's where my mom's side of the family is from, so it kind of feels not like my home parish is Indianola, but went there a lot growing up and things like that. So really enjoy being there. And also, too, I want to give you a chance to ask questions if I can answer. I don't want you to feel like I'm talking at you or things like that. So let's talk about trends. Okay, so trends worldwide. We are actually undergoing since the first time ever, since the 1300s, since the Black Plague, we're seeing population now decreasing. And so this is the first time we've ever seen that in the history of the world since, again, the 1300s with the Black Death. And so we're seeing population decline worldwide. We're also seeing recruitment for the military, police, fire, those service jobs. Many people they're having a hard time recruiting people to serve in those roles, and so we're seeing less and less people wanting to do that. And so I know I'm painting a really rosy picture for everyone. Okay, so and also what we've seen in the last at least 10 years again has been declines in vocation numbers. Not just in the U.S., but also in traditionally Catholic countries like Brazil, Poland. If you've ever been to Poland, it's really a beautiful country, very Catholic orientated, but actually even in Poland, we're seeing numbers of vocations also decrease. And so we're kind of seeing that trend, but in the midst of that, I think there's also good news because we have happy, healthy, I think holy people who are attracted to vocations to marriage, priesthood, the religious life. I was just talking to Bishop, and we've had many young women the past 20 years who have joined religious communities, and just to see that is very inspirational. I would say our seminarians, when we were as high as 28 back in the 2010s, now we've seen our numbers decrease to 11 seminarians this year. We've been doing okay in our diocese, maybe having 1 or 2 ordinations per year. The good thing about our diocese is that it's small, and we also don't have the infrastructure because we're one of the newer dioceses in Iowa, so we don't have a lot of schools or things like that. So we've been able to kind of keep up. But again, we're seeing kind of things trending downward in vocations, and I'd probably be a billionaire if I knew the answer. But I don't. I think it's many factors of why. Coming out of the COVID and all that, I kind of thought, well, maybe there'd be an increase of vocations as people really, I think, maybe saw faith in a new light, but we're not maybe seeing that as much now. And so, kind of difficult, but again, as kind of the previous speakers were talking about, all of us have that opportunity to help promote, pray for, and be those kind of vocation directors. I'm always working with our pastors. They have so much on their plate, but when people go into the seminary or religious life, they don't say it's because of me. They say it's because their pastor or their family member, a friend, someone encouraged them to think about religious life or priesthood or things like that. And so we get those studies from the Serra Institute at Georgetown. And so the big factors are our family, priests, altar serving, Eucharistic adoration were things that a lot of people said that kind of inspired them to help think about their vocation. And again, I'd be remiss if I didn't thank you so much again for being Serra Club members. Sometimes when I talk to Serra Clubs, they say, well, you know, Father, we're struggling to attract new members, and we're getting older and things like that. But I think the hard thing is that people don't know exactly what it is. You know, Knights of Columbus, okay, we do our fish fries, we do our blood drives, we do all these good things. Maybe it's a little bit easier because it's more parish focused. I think as American Catholics, we're very focused on our parishes. So I think sometimes for Serra Club members, we can feel maybe like we're not doing what we should be. But I would just say, like I tell, we have two Serra clubs in our diocese, one here in Des Moines, one in Council Bluffs, and I usually get a chance to speak to both. I just say, you know, persevere, keep going. You know, so just that's my word to you, is that perseverance and prayer in your work is really invaluable. So I just wanted to make sure I thank you for being members of St. Serra Club and for what you continue to do, all the good things for Vocations. So keep up the good work, and just a word of encouragement with that. So I know, do you have some questions about trends and vocations, some ideas, some things? I want to, again, be cognizant of our time here. Yeah, Mike.
Father Ross, you know, there's been a tremendous growth in Hispanic Catholics in our church, even in our own diocese here. Have we had any luck getting any Hispanic priesthood vocations from Hispanic Catholics that are born here but still know both cultures?
That's a great question.
Yes, they have.
Yeah, there's Father Rodrigo back there. Yeah, yeah. Father Rodrigo, again, well, that's a really big thing, especially second generation guys who were not, who were born in the U.S., but their parents came here. So what happened, just a little history lesson, maybe you know this. Most immigrant communities who came to the United States brought their own priests and then they built their own parishes. And so, you know, that's why, you know, my uncle's a priest in Buffalo, New York. They have their own challenges right now, and they've had to close many parishes because of population. Again, population's declining in these areas. And so on one corner you have, you know, the Irish Church, St. Mary's, you have the German St. Joseph, and the Polish, you know, St. Casimir. So you have all these ethnic communities that started their own parishes. And what we're trying to do, especially from Latin America, is integrating those people into our pre-existing parishes. And so hopefully Father Rodrigo can talk a little more about that. So sometimes we haven't been as good at that, and sometimes we could do better. And so that's kind of the thing with that second generation that we're really trying to work on, because we really need guys to be able to speak Spanish. Sometimes the seminarians get upset with me, but probably one of the biggest poverties of my own priesthood is not being able to speak Spanish well enough to at least celebrate the sacraments. That's probably one of the biggest things that I struggle with. And it's actually pastor for a year of a place which is now majority Spanish speaking, so it wasn't the best fit. I had to kind of go in and help some things out, but God provides, you know. So I think my confession line was really long because they knew I didn't know what they were saying. So anyway, yeah, that's a good question, Mike. Yeah.
Father, sometimes in Serrans we work with parishes where the pastor is so busy,
right,
and has so many responsibilities that their level of interest in or the ability to work with new vocations is limited. Right. And we kind of say, well, I wonder why those priests don't spend more time on vocations, or why isn't there a parish vocation ministry in that parish? Do you want to comment on kind of that?
Yeah, it's a great question. Yeah, well, why, you know, you're here because vocations are important to you, and this is a thing that we wonder about. Why are we not doing more? We see the challenges. What more can we do? And especially, you feel like as a pastor, you have about 1 million things going on. The roof's leaking, and why are they not spending more time on vocations? And I think it's just up to us. And we had our fall workshop. I really challenged the brothers again about making this a priority. This is something that we need to be doing, whether that's vocation committees, just small groups getting together, being more visible in the parish, small things we can do, a vocation prayer, in the petitions. So just challenging our priests in a kind way. Father, here's some things we thought about. Can we kind of implement them in the parish? And usually, hopefully, they're open to that. Sometimes, as long as it doesn't take a lot of extra time. But I think, again, I'm biased too, because this is my, I always it's like Moby Dick. This is the white whale I'm attached to, maybe. And I love vocations. It's the thing I think about the most. So how can we be more proactive in our parishes? I think it's just kindly reminding Father, hey, let's do something. Let's try an idea, and if it works, it works. And if it doesn't, the Holy Spirit will take care of that. We have to trust in that. So I think just that kind prodding of our local pastors. And everyone's busy. I think about people with families. They're busy too, and so we're all in it together. So I think it needs to be a priority. Is the main thing in our parishes. Yeah.
Seems to be more of a trend in seminarians coming a little later in life. How do we attract them, or even find them, or where do we sense them, I guess?
Yeah, great question. So this year we ordained 2 men. One was, I'd say, more traditional, younger man, and then one man is in his 60s. So I think was Father Mark here talking with you? Yes. Yeah. Okay. It was neat. I was a brand new pastor, 30 years old, at a pretty big parish at St. Joseph's, and the bishop sent Father Mark to be with me, and so that was kind of a cool, and he's an amazing priest. I can learn from him, So the guy who was ordained this year, Father Luisito, his wife unfortunately died. He didn't have any children. And he was in religious life as a young man in the Philippines, and kind of that vocational call, after the passing of his wife, was kind of reinvigorated in his heart. And he came in, and I said, you're gonna have to work past 70, so he was okay with that. I was like, okay, so it was neat, to see him interacting with the other seminarians in their 20s, and he had a really great affect to be around those younger men. And so we do see trends more and more. I think kind of mid to early 30s seems to be the age when guys are ordained. Some guys are ordained, like Father Reed was here, when they're 26, they go from high school to college seminary. And so there's a whole diversity of age ranges and things like that. And so I think our diocese has mostly, besides those couple, trended more on the younger side. I think that's to do because we're more rural. In the more urban areas, just like my cousin, we're the same age. She was just married, in her late 30s and just had her first child. I think that's more common. She's in D.C. Another one moved back here, So, but that's more common, I think, just more in urban areas, maybe a little bit later to do all those things. So it's a little different between, Des Moines versus, New York City or something like that. Even, Omaha, big metro area, but again, rural influences around, kind of like Des Moines in that way. Yeah.
Well, you mentioned try new things. If they work, great. If they don't, great. Move on. What have you seen that you consider to work well?
Well, I'm thinking, here's the thing, and I just talked to Bishop Johnson, and a couple things that are the biggest drivers of vocations, I think number one are strong families, holy families, people who take part in the sacramental life of the church, pray together as a family, eat together. You know, if you know, we know how hard marriage is. You know, you guys live that, but to live your vocation with fidelity, to love your spouse, and to let that love go to your children, and making, you know, God the center of our relationships. I think that's the first key. Second key, and I'm not in charge, and so, but I'll say it, and maybe you can talk to the bishop or the bishops, is I think pastors need to be in parishes longer. I think sometimes you don't even get to know somebody. I don't even got my things on the wall yet, and I'm getting moved again. I think to develop relationships with young people, you just got to be there and be present. Oh, yeah, Father, he's a pretty cool guy. Maybe I'll think about becoming a priest or a religious sister. So I think strong families and people in parishes, I think, and that's not always doable. I also think that Catholic schools are a great evangelization tool, because that's where we have the kids. You know, at my parish, we have 20 different school districts. You know, so it's kind of hard to, and only a few go to Catholic schools, so it's kind of hard to develop those relationships when kind of people are spread out all over. So again, strong families, strong priest presence, I think, and then finally being in schools and seeing, interacting with kids. I think, thanks be to God, now we have 2 priests at one of our high schools and 1 priest at another high school, which we didn't have that for a long time. I think that's going to do a lot, personally. To see these young priests, these guys on fire with their faith, that's a good deal. So yeah, those are the big things. And then, you know, parish-wise, I think just doing small things, you know, keeping kind of vocations in the forefront, just those kind of ways, and then encouraging the young people. You know, what's God calling you to? I see, you know, you're a holy person. You ever thought about becoming a religious sister, a priest, things like that? Because I see those good things in you. So that encouragement are other ways which are helpful.
Father?
Yeah, sorry.
How do foreign priests tie into the overall strategy as well?
Yes. So again, I mentioned trends, you know, worldwide trends. There are a few dioceses, especially in Africa and in India, where their ordinations are outpacing their ability to become a pastor or to serve in a parish. And so luckily, here in America, we become the beneficiary of missionary priests who are coming to the United States and wanting to serve. Some will, we call it incarnation. They'll maybe incarnate into our diocese. Some will want to go back to their home diocese and maybe work on a degree or things like that. And so we have been, again, the beneficiary of foreign-born priests. Like I try to remind people too, is that America has always been mission territory. You know, when people came here, they usually brought their own priests to serve in these communities. We used to call them FBIs, foreign-born Irish, in our diocese. So it's always been that way. The change is, I think, as a church, we got used to, you know, in the 50s and 60s, things are going really well, and more and more vocations. You know, you got Going My Way. You know, the priesthood and all those things were put in a good light, and so that's just not the reality. Even, you know, Father Larry's here. I think about Shelby County. Just those parishes there. It was almost like every social thing revolved around church. So we have our picnic. We go and hang out. This is our place to gather as a community. Now that's not reality. So it's like we live in a different time, and we can, it's not what it used to be. Well, no, but you know, again, Holy Spirit's in charge of the Holy Catholic Church. So I think, you know, we just have to persevere. But again, we've been very blessed to have foreign missionaries, foreign priests come and serve in the diocese of Des Moines, and maybe you've been blessed by that to see, and they can be very good, and most of them really are, and they really have a heart for, I think, ministry, and they're here because they want to be here as well. So that's a good question. Yeah.
So, how strong are your Newman centers? Do you see those as fertile ground?
Newman centers, I would say, have been some of the strongest drivers of vocation, especially look at Lincoln, University of Nebraska, Lincoln. How many priests have come from that Newman Center? Immeasurable amounts. Again, the problem with our diocese is that we don't have a major university. We have Drake University, which is, I think, about 4,000 students. And most of those students are from other areas like Chicago. I don't think there's a lot of kids from Iowa. So what we have seen, Iowa State University, which is in Ames, they have a very strong Newman Center, and now they have 2 priests there. And so they have vocation meetings or support groups with young men and women. So that's going to be a good thing. And so just trying to be, I think, Lincoln, Texas A&M has a really strong Newman Center. And a few more, I can't think off the top of my head. But also in Omaha, at the University of Nebraska, Omaha, they have a dorm for men and women. They have adoration, they have a priest who lives there. And so there's some neat things. Again, we just don't have the population to be able to have that. So we kind of rely on Iowa State. There's also a University of Northern Iowa, which is in Cedar Falls, Iowa. They have a Newman Center, St. Stephen the Witness. And also the University of Iowa. Go Hawks, they were winning, I saw, but their Newman Center, again, they're trying to do better. So just challenging them. They brought in focused missionaries, and so they are working towards building up that culture as well. So that kids in college, I think, are very fertile grounds for vocations, because they're thinking about, okay, what is God calling me to? And I think for some high school kids, they're embarrassed. I don't know why. They're embarrassed about everything. But, but I think college kids are more open. And maybe they've had some experiences. And I think, I think colleges are very good places to tap into vocation potentials. Yeah.
Do you see a connection between altar server programs and vocation?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So again, altar serving has always kind of been that pipeline to priesthood. You're around Father. I remember as a kid, probably my own vocation story. You can't do this anymore. But I went to public school, and if there was a funeral, my parents would let me miss some school and go to the funeral with Father. I was like, all right, go with Father, get $5. This is awesome. So I used to love that. And yeah, he would take me. He had a Cadillac, and he'd drive crazy, and so I'm like, oh, this is kind of cool. But so again, those days, unfortunately, are probably the last generation to be able to experience that. But I think altar serving, and in my own, and I love to serve at the altar. It helped me pay attention. Sometimes boys are kind of have a hard time, in math. See someone over here, yeah. So they need to kind of be focused on what's going on. So it kind of helps them do that as well. So I think altar serving, the more we can promote that. I don't know, it seems like in my parish, I'm having a hard time, getting kids to do that, to want to be servers. But when I was at St. Joseph's, I would just let any kid who wanted to come up. I used to have like 6 or 7 some days, and they just wanted to be up there, and so I think just building those relationships so I think altar serving is a big, because that's the time you can spend with the priest where we don't get those interactions all the time. Okay, good.
Father,
Yep.
how about young women coming into religious life? Are we seeing some numbers with them in the Des Moines Diocese?
Yes, absolutely. Again, that's why Bishop was writing an article. We're very focused on this now, is that we've seen in the last 20 years an uptick of women religious. The hard thing is that once my role with the young women is to get them into a community that I think would fit their gifts But once they're into the community, I basically am not, like the seminarians, I'm in charge of them all the way up until they're ordained priests, God willing, or they leave the seminary. So, but we have seen, especially young women, the Marian sisters in Lincoln, Nebraska. There's three women from our diocese there. Also the Dominicans in Ann Arbor. I think we have 4 there, 4 or 5. And so, so we've had some good relationships with religious sisters. I wish, again, we could get some religious sisters into our schools more. So I think that's why, again, I'm not, saying like, Lincoln is the best, but they have religious sisters in their schools who teach. They have priests. They have the Newman Center. We don't have any convents in our diocese, so we were not able to have women religious here. But that'd be another big thing. That'd be my hope, but maybe someday. But that's a good question, David. Thank you. I want to be cognizant of your time. Yep, I'm out of time. I think Father Rodrigo's here, and then I think you need to get to Mass. And so, thank you for your time and for all you do. Thank you.